Good evening and thank you for tuning into this week's last edition of Primetime News. I'm Joy Gosses and it's my pleasure to bring you the latest updates. Our top story tonight focuses on President Dr. Hage Gengob's recent remarks regarding Kasinga Day. According to the President, this day is not just an occasion to remember selfless acts of sacrifice, but also an opportunity for Namibians to renew their commitment to their country and cultivate a sense of patriotism and duty. Our lead report, filed by Sowe Hausiku, delves deeper into the significance of Kasinga Day and its relevance to the Namibian people.
Namibians on Thursday commemorated Kasinga Day. The Kasinga massacre occurred on the 4th of May 1978 when South African Defence Force planes flew over the SWAPO refugee camp at Kasinga in southern Angola and dropped bombs, killing close to 600 Namibians and wounding 400 others. Gengob, in a statement issued on Thursday, said the objective of the apartheid forces was to instill fear and discourage the continuation of Namibia's liberation struggle under the leadership of the SWAPO party. He said these acts only strengthened the unity, solidarity and resolve of Namibians to continue fighting for Namibia's total liberation from colonialism and apartheid. Gengob said the Kasinga massacre became one of many rivers of blood that Namibians crossed towards freedom for all. The president stated this was in line with the proclamation by the late People's Liberation Army of Namibia commander Peter Enias Nanyemba. Gengob in his statement paid tribute to those who lost their lives in the attack, saying their sacrifice will never be forgotten.
In a major development, Ali Angula, a highly respected chartered accountant and former deputy executive director of the Ministry of Finance, has announced her candidacy for the Namibian presidency in the upcoming 2024 general elections. Angula cited the heavy burden faced by Namibians as the reason for her decision to enter politics. We have more details on this developing story in our insert.
Speaking on her social media platforms on Tuesday, Angula noted that more than half of the population is poor, which results in more crime, strained resources, a low quality of life, and reduced domestic markets. The chartered accountant is advocating for a just Namibia, which she says Namibians like herself, who were born and raised in exile, believed in. Angula added, where justice and the rule of law apply to every person without fear or favor. She says the country can invest in her future and in the gifted young people who will be tomorrow's leaders through education, infrastructure development, social services and wealth distribution. Angula expressed that despite coming from a refugee camp and now being a chartered accountant who has built multiple businesses, she is heavily burdened by this trajectory. It is not clear whether she will stand as an independent presidential candidate or for a specific political party.
Our next story is a tragic one. A young man identified as 24-year-old Bino Bandu Hinjo has died at the Okakarara State Hospital after sustaining a single stab wound to the chest. According to Nambola Inspector Maureen Mbeha, Hinjo was brought to the hospital for medical attention on Wednesday but unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. Here is more details on the story.
Preliminary police investigation suggests that the deceased was involved in a physical fight at a bar in Okakarara. The stabbing occurred at approximately 2300 hours on Wednesday, and a 20-year-old suspect was arrested the same night. Nampol Unit Commander for Community Affairs in the Otjozondjupa region, Inspector Maureen Beha, said Hinjao was found with a stab wound on the left lower chest, and upon arrival at Okakarara State Hospital, he succumbed to the injury. Police investigation into the matter are ongoing.
On to continental news. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on developed countries to fulfill their financial commitments to Africa to help the continent adapt to the effects of the climate crisis. Guterres made this appeal during a media briefing in Nairobi, Kenya, where he is currently on an official visit.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said developed countries, which are major contributors to the emission of planet-warming gases like methane and carbon dioxide, should honor their financial commitment to helping Africa adapt to the unfolding climate crisis. Guterres, who is on official visit to Kenya, said at a media briefing in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi that the industrial north has a moral obligation to help African countries become climate resilient. The United Nations chief hailed Kenyan President William Ruto's commitment to a 100% transition to clean energy by 2030, adding that the African Union's ambitious green stimulus program will reinvigorate climate response in the continent. The United Nations chief disclosed that he has proposed a climate solidarity pact in which developed countries lend financial and technical support to help emerging economies in Africa and beyond hasten their transition to green energy. Guterres said 50% of climate financing in Africa should be channeled toward adaptation projects to enable communities to withstand climate-related shocks like hunger and water scarcity.
Stay tuned for the business segment. Welcome to the business segment. Our top story tonight focuses on Angola's plans to privatize a significant number of state assets and companies. According to Xinhua News Agency, Angola's Secretary of State for Finance and Treasury, Otoniel dos Santos, has announced that the country aims to privatize 73 assets and companies by 2026, beginning with 4 companies this year, including the National Assurance Company and major telecommunications provider. The announcement was made during a press briefing held in the Angolan capital, Luanda.
While introducing the extension of the privatization program for the year 2023-2026, the official stated that privatization processes for ENSA, the National Assurance Company, and Unitel, the key telecom service provider, would begin this year, along with the TV Cabo, a television and internet service provider, and BFA, a commercial bank. According to Angolan Minister of Finance Vera Davis de Sousa, the contracts signed through the first phase of the country's privatization program have reached 954 billion Angolan kwanzas, and the state has pocketed 569 billion kwanzas so far. This value resulted from the privatization of 92 state assets and companies. The minister said that the Angolan authorities were pleased with the results achieved in the first phase of the privatization program, which was conducted from 2019 to 2022.
On to neighboring South Africa, where lion cubs, rhino calves, and other baby animals joined Nelson Mandela on the new ecology-themed banknotes unveiled by South Africa's Central Bank on Thursday. Printed in 5 denominations, ranging from 10 to 200 rand, the notes bear the portrait of the anti-apartheid hero, sporting a subtle smile and are slightly brighter in color than their predecessors. More on this intriguing story.
On the back of the notes are drawings of the big 5 game animals: elephant, rhino, lion, leopard and buffalo, depicted with their cubs and calves. The notes have been printed on special paper and feature security devices to help toward counterfeiting, the South African Reserve Bank has said. The current series of banknotes featuring Mandela were first issued in 2012, a year before the death of the country's first democratically elected president. Revamped coins in silver, gold and rose gold colors also carry pictures of wildlife, including a whale, a springbok, a bee and the national flower, the protea. They feature patterns to help visually impaired people discern the coins through feel.
That concludes our top news segment for tonight. Stay tuned for the economics roundup, followed by the latest weather update. Welcome to Sport Planet. In tonight's news, the city of Naples is in jubilation after its football club Napoli clinch its first Serie A title in over 30 years. Despite a lackluster 1-1 draw against Udinese, the team's first championship since 1990 was secured, sparking celebrations across the city. This victory is a momentous occasion for Napoli, as it marks their first title win since the legendary Maradona led the team to victory in the 1989-1990 season. In NBA news, the Golden State Warriors put on a dominant display on Thursday, with Klay Thompson scoring an impressive 30 points and hitting 8 three-pointers. All 5 Warriors starters reached double figures in their 127-100 rout of the Lakers, helping to even up the second-round series at 1 game apiece after a close Game 1 loss on Tuesday. As the series moves to Los Angeles for Game 3 on Saturday, fans are eagerly anticipating another exciting matchup between these two talented teams. Stay tuned for the Sports Roundup. That concludes our broadcast for tonight. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found our news and sports segments informative. Join us again next week Monday for more news and updates. From myself, Joy Gosses, and the entire crew working behind the scenes, we wish you a pleasant evening. Good night.